It's Mike Daly, joined by the best coach I've ever had.
Oh, don't say that.
I mean it. Coach Mark Washington, defensive coordinator. Man, I was excited for this one. I said as you walked in, I was excited to see you. It's been some time.
Yeah.
How's everything been going? Tell me about camp.
You know what, Mike? Camp has been really great. Not too many injuries. We're sort of pushing through. Guys are learning how to play, learning how to begin to execute. You know what I mean? But yet still go hard and not knock somebody out. You know what I mean? So we're learning. You know how that is, right?
Yeah.
Learning that balance. We got a lot of new faces out there, right? So that means we have a lot more teaching to do. From a coaching perspective, but that's what we invite,
Yeah.
So we're all teachers, so we get that opportunity. So camp has been going well, man.
And you've been doing it for a long time. Once you get into camps, is it all meshed together, or how do you approach each camp differently?
You know what, the experiences of camp are almost identical every year. You're going to have these highs and lows. You're going to experience this, that, and the other. Names start mushing in. You're like, hold on, I don't know, was he here then, or what year that was? You know what I'm saying? But that starts to mush, but at the same time, you know what to expect. You know what they're feeling, their bodies, their minds, when they're starting to miss their families and things like that. So you can sort of help them out along that journey.
Is that because your playing career, you kind of understand how they're feeling and all that sense? Or is it's now like your coach and who's on the field, does it all mesh together?
It's a little bit of both, right?
Yeah.
You have to say, okay, my body, when I played, felt this way. And you remember that, and you say, okay, DBs, you got to stretch your groins a little bit more. You got to wrap them up as soon as you feel that first twing. These little things that you knew and you remember as a player. Then as a coach, you know the length and you know what's coming. You sort of see what you have installed, what you're installing down the road. So you're like, all right, fellas, you better hit your horse to the wagon real fast because it's coming.
Better tape that those groins a little more. We need you out there to get some of these reps.
100%, man.
And so I'm curious because trying to be a student of the game and stuff like that. You go through some sort of process every offseason to figure out what plays you're going to put in. Are you going to run the same stuff?
Right.
Are you going to pick something new?
Right.
Because I'd imagine you got ideas in your head all over the place, but you can only really execute on a couple of them.
Right.
What is that process like? Trying to pick what's going to be new, what's going to be the same. What's that look like?
Well, first of all, you said you're trying to be a student of the game. You're a professor. You're a professor of the game. You played the game ahead of everybody. So first and foremost, let's start there.
Well, teacher pupil.
No,
so
stop that.
Depending on the room that we're in right here. So I understand.
You have these ideas throughout the season. You know how you want to adjust your scheme. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you have to look at the league and how the layout of the league has changed. Which coaches have gone here, there, and everywhere. So all of these things sort of factor in on how you want to plan. Your what you want to install. Mm-hmm. And then how we like to teach conceptually. You know what I mean? So seeing a big picture, and then from there you start to fill things in and plug things in.
Okay, and which is hard. It's a harder way to get people to wrap their mind around conceptual football, right? Which kudos to you. And the reason I honestly, truly believe best coach I've ever had is because you're able to quickly teach that conception. Right. Is it more difficult for some to bring them along? How's that work when you see, okay, this person gets it, right? Like somebody like a Stavros, this person gets it. Right. Somebody that might not get it as quick. Is it a completely different coaching style for them?
Totally. You sort of have to figure out what you need to do with that person, right? And just continue to teach on that big level. You may have to sort of semi it down and you have to sort of figure out what's going to be their learning style. I mean, some guys got to come out and walk through it. Some guys can learn it on the board. Some guys can, the magnets. Some guys have to move the magnets around. Mm-hmm. You just sort of have to find it. But here's the beautiful thing, because once it clicks, once the light turns on and they got it, they got it.
Yeah.
You can go from there.
And how much do you lean on, your individual coaches, your positional coaches, stuff like that? Is that a massive?
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Because they, we all have our own sets of eyes. We all come from our own experiences, right? And so we all see things differently as long as we're seeing the same thing. Mm-hmm. We may see it differently, but we're all seeing the same thing, and we're going to coach the same thing. And so once we get that, we're going to be in great shape.
Well, and I mean, you've been coaching for a long time. 16 years? Is this now?
This is 17? 16? Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
16, 17. Okay, so because...
You counting COVID or no?
Yeah, we'll count it.
Okay, 17.
We'll count
it.
Yeah, we'll count it. Because the biggest thing that, like, and what people don't realize is you have a coaching job before you even get on the field with the players, with your new staff.
Yeah.
Right? With each individual coach.
Yes.
Because if you're in this league long enough, there's a lot of change and who's in there with you. And this year, maybe one of the biggest ones with a couple different individual staff coming in.
Right.
What's that like in terms of coaching now coaches, right, to get them going?
That's exactly what you have to do. And it's something that, been trying to work on and honing myself at my own craft is coaching the coaches. You know what I mean? You have to coach them first, and we all have to get on the same page and like I said, we all seeing the same thing, even though we may see it from a different point of view. And we're all speaking the same language, saying the same thing, so that when we get out here with the players, we're all one unit.
Yeah, and how much do you rely on them for like new ideas and stuff like that?
A ton. That's why they're here.
Yeah.
They bring new ideas. They bring, a different perspective. They bring fresh energy. They bring a lot of newness to it. Their own experiences when they played, when they've coached. So you bring all new in.
Yeah, cool. And so tell me, I know camp's been, there's been day off yesterday, right? Some little more days off, which, hey,
I'm cool
when you were
that.
playing, didn't happen.
Never happened.
When I was playing, maybe happened a little bit, right? But now hearing about what it's going, is that just hearing what the players are feeling? Is that already scheduled in there to make sure, like, listen, we're going to take care of somebody?
So you got to take care of the guys. I mean, we're mimicking in a lot of ways how our weeks are. How our weeks are, so 3 days you go, and then you got a game, and then you need a day, and then you start it up again. So sort of mimicked in that way. Yeah. I mean, these guys have been humping it out here, right? So every once in a while, you got to throw them a bone. And a lot of, but you need it because you can't just dog them into the ground, right? Because you won't make it to the end of camp, and what good is that? And then you don't want to start the season out, hurt. You want to start the season out fresh, you know. And so taking care of the legs, but yet making sure that they're working and getting the execution that we need.
Yeah, I always said week one, when those hard camps were there, week one was the hardest week. Because you'd be coming out of camp completely sore.
You're coming out of camp, your legs are toast, your body, everything hurts. And now, by the way, you got to find an apartment, you got to find this, and now you got to go out and play a game. It's like, it's tough.
So it's going 7 different ways.
That's what I mean.
Also, whistle blows down on kickoff. Oh, here we go.
Here we go. What?
I don't know where I'm living yet.
I don't even have a house, and I got to go down on kickoff. Okay, I got it.
Is it easy to figure out by camp how things are going to go during season? Is it easy to look at camp and say, okay, I understand how this season's going to go, or we're in a good spot now, or we have a lot of work to do? Is that an easy thing to figure out?
No. Yes and no. Because it varies so much. I mean, I've been in camps that have been pristine, perfect, healthy guys, and then you start out slow. Had camps that have been dogged and wretched and 1,000 injuries, and then you start off smoking 3-0, 4-0, or something like that. So it's hard to tell. The main thing is making sure that from a mental perspective that the guys are ready, that they understand what they need to do, understand that the end of the journey is more important than the beginning, but the beginning is real important too. You know what I mean? And so it's hard to tell sometimes. The main thing is like I said, making sure that your guys are ready to play and they understand what they got to do, and that you're at the bottom of this mountain and the climb is about to start, and you can't get to the top in one day. It's not about that. It's about, all right, we just got this 1 week. You don't have to win 18 games. You just got to get this one, right? And making sure that you're focused on that target.
Yeah, and the length of that too. And rely on some of the older guys to be able to help. And maybe another big change for at least you, since you've been around the Ticats for a little bit, is kind of that leadership change, right? Simone's now gone. Ted has retired, right? Like those are those are big. Those are big pieces that are gone, right? Have you seen somebody stepping up? Do you kind of encourage someone to step up or let it happen naturally? Well, what's that look like?
You're going to have your natural leaders. You're going to have the guys who are in a position to gather and have the mic, as we say, right? And so, obviously Stavros has stepped up, and then, Kyle Wilson, just by the nature of where he is and what he's playing that backer, he has to be that guy. You know what I mean? And he's been here also. He's been here for a few years. Casey's only been here for 2 years, but he's also he stepped up. He understands it. So with all that, like you said, there's a lot of leadership voids in the room because these guys have gone, but other guys are starting to step in.
Yeah, and that's good to see, and it's kind of, you can feel it out there on the field and stuff like that. Last one I got for you, because you are a coach, full-time Ticats, but you're also a husband.
Right.
You're also a father.
Right.
We were just talking before we turned the cameras on. Your son Jeremiah is making a lot of noise, kind of all over the football world right now.
Yeah.
How much do you coach? How much is it like a dad? Like, because you've been a coach for so long, you've been a player for so long. What?
Honestly, like I'll tell him, I'll literally tell him, all right, I'm putting on my dad hat. I'm putting on my coach hat because I don't want him to blur those. You know what I mean? I don't know. Some days he needs dad. Dad, man, I had a rough one today or whatever. And he doesn't need a coach to correct him. He needs a dad to just say, come here, man, let's just hang out. You know, it's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
You know, then other times he'll say, Dad, how do I handle this? You know, how do I, cover? I mean, he called one day and he was like, Dad, they're running a wheel route in cover 3. How do we handle that? I'm like, you gotta get high. You gotta be able to split. You know what I mean? You gotta tell the low player to run with the second through the second vertical through, right? And he was like, okay, yeah. So I couldn't be a dad at that moment. I had to be a coach.
Right.
So, you sort of wear both hats and just understand what you got to do for both. I mean, and my daughter's the same way. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, when am I dad and when am I, career advisor? You know what I mean? So,
you almost need to have 2 physical hats. Yeah. It might be a little bit easier.
Just don't get them mixed up. You know what I mean? 2 different colors.
Yeah. Goals of the season, any overarching goals when you come into a training camp? Is there something, you from the playing side, you hear, okay, I want to lead the league in interceptions, right? Do you have any goals like that as coaches?
I want us, when we leave this campus, I want us to be a team, solidified, understanding our roles, understanding the objectives we have set as a team. Mm-hmm. You want the team to become a team as soon as possible. You know what I mean? You want the team to leave the hands of the coaches and into the hands of the players. As soon as you can get that, where they're self-accountable and things like that, they're self-led. These are the goals I have for us coming out of camp. And then you just start that climb, every week. We all know the goal. We all know what stands at the top of the mountain. We need to see it in the city. We haven't seen it since '99, and as we say, this year might as well be the year. This is the greatest year for it to be. This is the greatest year for it to be. So let's make it happen.
I love it. Coach, great to see you again.
Thank you, Mike.
You still have your voice, which is good.
Yeah, it's still early. It's still early.
Glad we got this in for you, lost your voice.
That's crazy, yeah.
Yeah, great to see you. I appreciate you sitting down.
Appreciate you, man.